everyone, and welcome to 2023 and our first video blog this year. If this is the first time you've caught up with us on video, then I'm delighted to have you join us. And to those of you who are regular followers, then it's great to welcome you back again. For anyone who doesn't know me, I'm Jeanette Forder, the founder of Phoenix Wellness Coaching. I'm a wellness and life coach with over 20 years experience as a senior HR business partner and a coach, working closely with, advising and challenging senior teams to build an engaged and inclusive culture where all staff can thrive and perform to their highest level. I translate my own experience into useful advice for senior managers to help them to build a sustainable and resilient workforce that respects diversity and harnesses the power of difference at every employee's life stage. My passion is to help individuals and organisations to thrive together through menopause. I use my own story and experiences to highlight the issues that female leaders encounter both personally and professionally as they approach and transition through this key life stage. My aim is to make menopause a positive conversation, removing the stigma and sensitivity. As menopausal women in the workplace represent the largest and fastest growing demographic in the UK, I'm actively educating employers to support their female leaders, helping them to realise their full potential and retain these talented employees for longer. If you've been following us for some time, I'm sure you will be fully up to date on the latest developments around menopause and the workplace. I have to say this has been a rather mixed bag, with some positive steps forward and some rather bemusing decisions too. For employers and menopausal women alike, this has been quite a confusing conversation. So hopefully I can help to remove some of that confusion for you. I want to share some of my own thoughts around the latest moves in the menopause space and help you as both individuals, as employees and as employers to navigate what has been happening and, most importantly, to learn what you need to know and do better. So the Women and Equalities Unit of Government launched a consultation seeking views and ideas on how to better support the 14.5 million and growing menopausal women in the workplace here in the UK. This resulted in some key recommendations going to Parliament earlier this year for debate and agreement. For starters, I think this is a super positive step forward. We need to be talking about menopause at the highest levels, as this is no longer solely a female issue. It impacts families, society and the economy, so it's a conversation we need to be having right now. But sadly, some of the key recommendations of the report were not taken forward. This included mandated training for GPs on menopause, including menopause as a protected characteristic under the Equalities Act, and trialling additional menopause leave to help ladies better manage their symptoms. I am disappointed that the mandatory training for GPs was not adopted, although in many respects I can understand the reasons behind this. The government doesn't believe it's up to them to mandate training for doctors. This is the role of the General Medical Council, who set the standards for doctors in the UK. So it follows that it's up to the GMC to decide what training their members need and how those standards of practice should be upheld. In many respects, I do agree with this view. The GMC is best placed to decide what training their members require, more so than the government. But having said that, I would like to see menopause given a higher priority in training for doctors. I regularly hear horror stories from my clients where a little better training would bring about a much better outcome for these ladies. On the question of making menopause a protected characteristic under the Equalities Act, again, I do agree that this really isn't necessary. Whilst menopausal women are not directly protected in law, they are protected through the characteristics of sex, age and disability. It's for employers to ensure that menopausal women do not feel that they are being pushed out of the workplace for issues such as brain fog, which we know can cause them to make mistakes or struggle with concentration, thus affecting their performance. A simple conversation with the manager should be able to resolve this. I would prefer to see better training for managers to avoid any potential discrimination against women through the course of menopause. We also know that menopause and perimenopause impact a certain age group of women, usually those aged between 45 and 55, although we also know that this is very dependent on the individual woman. Again, should discrimination occur, then we can look to the protections through age legislation, as well as sex discrimination. Lastly, whilst it frustrates me that menopause is so often seen as an illness, the protections we have under disability legislation can also help. Menopause is not a disability, but it is something that can negatively impact some women anything between 1 and 10 years, and for this reason, disability discrimination may come into play. But more importantly, as a good employer, you can make reasonable adjustments to help your menopausal women to fully contribute. This might be supplying fans to help with hot flushes, looking at the fabric and weight of your uniforms, providing additional break times, or looking at how your flexible working policies can be used to support these women. Reasonable adjustments can and should be used, in my view, to support menopausal women in the same way as we would support any other temporary or permanent health condition that might mean the individual requires additional support to perform to their very highest level. For these reasons, we don't really need further protections based on menopause. As managers, colleagues, friends and family, we just need to show a little more understanding and empathy and ask the woman what help we can give her. I encourage organisations to open an honest and supportive conversation around menopause, and like you would for a disabled colleague, be guided by the needs of the woman who is central here. Before I became self-employed, I worked in a large organisation and was super lucky enough to have a very supportive line manager. He took time to have a conversation with me around my needs as I experienced menopause. He could see I was struggling and that my performance was being impacted, but he approached the conversation from the standpoint of concern for my well-being. I know this isn't everyone's experience, sadly, but with more training for managers, we can change that. So are we any further forward with the conversation around menopause? Yes, I believe we are. We're talking about it more openly, and more employers are talking to coaches like myself to support them better. Could we do more? Well, yes, of course we can. And when I think about the story of Nicola Bulley, then I'm really saddened and angry that menopause is being used as a possible reason for her disappearance. By sharing her struggles with menopause, it conjures up negative views of menopausal women, and that menopause is something to be feared, and that's by us all and not just women. I'm even more saddened by the fact that a public organisation felt it was okay to share this sensitive information about Nicola with the wider public for everyone's scrutiny. Again, this is where perhaps a public duty under the Equality Act on all public bodies to preserve the confidentiality and sensitivity of menopause might be helpful. But that feels like another conversation completely. I'm really sorry that Nicola was struggling and perhaps wasn't able to get the support she needed. I also know that she isn't alone, and that the numbers of women feeling unable to cope and in some cases taking their own lives is on the increase. This is so sad, and we should be focusing on what we can do to help these women more. We need to open a more positive conversation around menopause and start to show the world that menopausal women have so much more to offer society, and that it's nothing to fear or cope with, but it's a natural phase in our amazing lives. I sincerely hope that Nicola is safe and well and is found soon. Wow, feels like my video blog has become a bit of a soapbox episode. It isn't, I assure you, but I wanted to try to clarify some of the decisions around the menopause conversation, to address some of the thoughts around Nicola Bulley's case, but above all, I want to say that I'm glad that we're coming out of the shadows and are able to talk more about this transition. Finally, I'm here to support you. Whether you are a single woman or an organisation, I can offer the right support for you so that you can all thrive through menopause. This is just a transition in your life. It will pass and you'll come out the other side. Please reach out to me. I will always listen and support you. There's no fear or judgment here. No woman needs to suffer alone or feel she cannot get the help from another woman. Thank you for listening, and feel free to get in touch with me at jeanette@phoenixwellness.co.uk to ask any questions, share your views or seek my help. Would love to further this conversation with you and hopefully see you again on my next video blog later this year. Thank you.